You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today we're going to talk about one of those topics that most people get a little squeamish around. They never really want to talk about, but the truth is that if you do have a parasite, it is imperative that you remove it and the many others that come along with it before you begin the healing process of your body. And the reason is, it is often the catalyst to healing or losing weight, or getting well, or improving your sleeping, any one of those things, as I'm going to explain today, because a parasite can be one of the pathogens in your body holding you back from the exact results that you want. So, on episode 262 of the Cabral Concept, I went over the 7 signs you may have a parasite. I'll talk about a few of those today. I do recommend tuning back into that show, but what I really want to do today is give you the exact protocol we use in my functional medicine practice to help you understand how you can test for it and then how you can treat it. And of course, I use the word treat in air quotes because in naturopathic medicine, what we're looking to do is remove the pathogens, whether it's the yeast or bacterial overgrowth or parasites or H. pylori, and then rebalance the body so that it does not have a hospitable space to re-inhabit. Because we are always being exposed to parasites. We really are. But not everyone is getting them. Why? Because some people's immune systems are stronger, and some people have stronger digestion to kill the parasites before they would ever enter the body. Again, on episode 262, I spoke about where you may pick up a parasite. Traveling, of course, being exposed to contaminated water is probably number 1. Undercooked food. Believe it or not, that goes for both vegan food and meat. And the reason is that at a salad bar, a really common space to be able to pick up a parasite. You can pick up a parasite from your pet. I'm not going to go over all the reasons because what I want to do is have you tune back in episode 262. So I don't want to repeat that whole show. But that gave you all the symptoms of if you may have a parasite. Today I want to get deep in the protocol because we have so many people doing our parasite protocol. I want to make sure they do it successfully. And I also want to be able to have you understand how to test for it. You can run the test through any functional medicine-based doctor, or you run it home by obviously going to Equilibrium Nutrition. I'll link up everything today in the show notes. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but of course you can go to stephencabral.com/928 for all of today's show notes. I'm going to link up previous podcasts as well, and one of those, of course, is going to be 262. Way back, right? Way back, almost, how many episodes? Almost 700 episodes ago. That's amazing, right? 700 episodes ago. That's why it's so important if you're able to tune back to those previous shows, all that different information that I don't repeat. I really don't. And so I'm not going to repeat that show on 262. What I want to do today is a lot of people don't even know what a parasite is. So I do think that we need to talk about that. We need to get into why it's so important that you do get rid of them. And first, let's do chat, though. Just a couple of the symptoms. Again, you can go to 262 for all of those. But a lot of the ones that people may not be thinking about that I didn't even talk as much about on 262. And the reason is I gave the most prevalent ones. But a lot of people, it doesn't trigger, even with GI specialists and a lot of PCPs, they don't recognize that a lot of people's unhealthy food cravings have to do with a parasite or even sexual-based dysfunction, a lot of erectile dysfunction, inflammation in general, teeth grinding at night. That's such a big one. If anybody tells me they're grinding their teeth at night, sure, it could have to do with stress, cortisol, many other issues, but it can also have to do with parasites. That's why if you're a dentist listening to this show and someone has teeth grinding, what could it be from? Well, yes, it could be from stress, it could be from tension, improper alignment, all sorts of different things, but it can be from a parasite as well. Joint pain, another big overlooked one. I did mention on 762, one of those major symptoms was anal-based itching, but also any itching on the skin in general is a real sign of a parasite as well. Recurring yeast infections. Why? Because when there is a microbiome that's dysfunctional, meaning there's parasitic overgrowth, typically the immune system's not working functionally, there's bacterial overgrowth, and of course yeast. Yeast is an opportunistic pathogen, as we like to say, meaning like if you set the stage for it, it would be happy to continue to proliferate and overgrow. That's why when you take antibiotics, sometimes even just once, what happens is the antibiotic kills the bacteria, but it's not an antifungal. So it doesn't do anything about the yeast. And that's why it's just so vitally important if you're taking an antibiotic that you do use something like the Clean Gut Probiotic, which contains Saccharomyces boulardii to keep the yeast at bay. So important. So again, check out the previous podcast for all the different signs, the most important ones that we see in my practice for sure. But do understand that parasites are extremely common. The rate right now we're seeing is anywhere from 25 to 30% of the population. And I know that that seems like a huge number, right? This is over the entire world of 7 billion plus people. But the Center for Disease Control in the United States can actually back that up with their research as well. So you're welcome to obviously look up that research too for the Center of Disease Control. I'm going to give you some direct statistics right now, though. So here's a pretty amazing one. Let's talk about roundworm first. So these are a specific type of parasites. Really, really important that we look at these. And roundworms can literally lay 200,000 eggs a day, and they can grow up to 15 feet long inside your intestines. Now, is that common to grow 15 feet long? No. Have people passed a 15-foot long worm before? Yes. And pretty horrifying. People in our practice, oftentimes they will pass some parasites. They'll actually see them in the toilet. Sometimes they're just eggs. Sometimes they're microscopic. We've had people pass anywhere from 6 to 12-inch worms that I've seen. Worm's just another word for a parasite, right? Because roundworms, pinworms, we'll talk about those today. So pretty unbelievable. And these roundworms, again, can lead to anything from asthma, inflammation, insomnia, fever, sweating at night, all sorts of different issues. All right, really important to look at those as well. Hookworm, and that affects about 1 billion people, right? 1 billion people. Now, another type called hookworm, almost 1 billion people, 700 million, really, really common one as well. These lodge themselves in the intestinal tract. These parasites, a lot of them, actually have teeth, and they use their teeth to burrow into the intestinal wall. And when they do that, well, they can cause all sorts of issues such as anemia that a lot of people don't think about. Low iron, right? So if you're low iron, yes, there might be an absorption issue, there might be low stomach acid, but there also could be a parasite. Important to look at that as well. Pinworms, really important. Why do I bring up pinworms? About 20% of all children are infected with pinworms. Important to look at. We thought my oldest daughter had pinworms that she might have picked up at school. Because remember, let's just say there's eggs or larvae or anything like that lying around. Your child could touch them with their hand, touch their hand to their mouth or eyes or anything like that, and they can actually ingest those eggs, and then which hatch and become the worms themselves or parasites themselves. Important one to look at, pinworms specifically can cause all sorts of digestive issues in children. It can cause things like learning disabilities, irritability, nervousness. So an important one to look at in kids and, of course, adults as well. Then there's whipworm. Whipworm affects a couple 100 million people worldwide. It can cause loose stool, hemorrhoids, it can cause nausea, all sorts of different issues as well. These are a little smaller in length rather than growing larger. These grow to about 1 to 2 inches in length. We see quite a bit of pinworms and hookworms in my practice. Tapeworms is another one. Tapeworm we don't see as much, but a tapeworm can grow up to 35 feet long and can live close to a decade. Pretty insane that they've seen these in autopsies. They've seen people pass these before. Really important to look at that. And of course, when you do pass it, the nice thing is it's typically dead. Typically. All right, so really, really important to look at. At least in the protocols that we use, it's dead because we kill the parasites before they actually come out. And then flatworms will be the last one that I do go over today. These ones, they can also travel throughout the body, which is not ideal. Get into liver, also sometimes called liver flukes. You can get a parasite to the liver, lungs, kidneys, bladder, and can cause a lot of destruction in those areas as well. So really, when you're looking at other issues within the body, and let's say you've had these healing-based issues, these medical issues, or at least health-based issues for a number of years, and you haven't done parasite testing yet, it might be the time. It might be that time. The very best lab that I've ever used is the one that I'm working with right now. And to be honest, I've been working with them now for 7 years. I used 2 other labs before them to test for parasites. Here's the reason why I ended up switching with them. And you know that for me, I have like zero brand loyalty when it comes to labs. I want what's best for the people that I care for my practice. That's it. And again, we're literally just giving you the lab, and that comes with a consultation. So the lab, again, you can run these with any doctor that you want. So you don't have to run it with me. You can run it with your PCP. You can run it with a functional medicine doctor in your area, or of course, you can run it with myself in my practice, and we'll give you our recommendations. But I like the stool test that I'm going to link up today at stephencabral.com/928. And I'll tell you why. It's a 3-day stool test. It's simple to do, though. Here's all you have to do. When you have a bowel movement, you just take a small sample. It's just basically this little plastic container. You take a tiny sample each day for 3 days. That's all you need. That's literally all you need. And then you mail it into the lab. It comes with everything you need to mail it back. Here's what's important with this, is you have 3 chances to find a parasite, to find H. pylori, because we also want to check for H. pylori. I'm not going to talk about that on today's show, but of course, you can just type in PYLORI at stephencabral.com/podcast and find out about H. pylori. I will talk about that on a future podcast, just like I'm talking about parasites today. So stay tuned, why that's so important to check for as well. But this test does that. It does test for yeast, but I'll tell you right now, don't test for yeast on a stool test. Test for an organic acids test. Why? Yeast is so hard to find. I mean, it honestly is. So what you want to do is you want to find the waste markers of yeast that shows you that it's proliferated, and you do that in an organic acids test. Okay, what else does this look for? It looks for Klebsiella overgrowth. It looks for bacterial overgrowth like E. coli. So it's an amazing stool test, but again, the big difference that a lot of labs are not doing is it's 3 days, and they have a human look at it, unlike just a machine for the 1 day, under a microscope. They're actually looking at your stool under a microscope. They're taking it to that next level. So important, though, because you don't want to miss anything. Because if you miss a parasite and you're falsely diagnosed as negative, which means is then you don't do a parasite protocol, which means that you might then be walking around with a parasite causing a proliferation of other health-based symptoms, right? The symptoms that we spoke about a little earlier and the symptoms on episode 262. So let's say you do run the parasite test and you find that you have a specific parasite. Here's the good news, and this really is good news as well. If you've been found to have a parasite, doing a parasite protocol will wipe out any type of parasite that you have. That's the great thing about it, is that we know from herbal medicine that originated in the Amazon, to Ayurvedic medicine, to traditional Chinese medicine, what we use. And believe it or not, Ayurvedic medicine now, today, like in 2018, actually uses a lot of Amazonian-based herbs as well because they work so well. So I want to share those with you today. Again, the goal of the Cabral concept is to share with you exactly what we do in our practice. So if you're a health practitioner, then you can obviously do it with the patients or the clients, the wellness clients that you see. If you are part of the general public, which most people are listening to the podcast, you can decide that you just want to do a parasite protocol. Now, I've spoken about this before, and a lot of people have begun to do it as well. I did a podcast on episode 887, not that long ago. It was called the 4 Cleanses to Do Yearly. Part of a South American and a lot of Amazon tribe-based ritual, as well as in Ayurvedic medicine, and Chinese medicine as well, you would do a yearly deworming. You would sometimes do it twice a year. They actually called it a deworming because parasites are worms. They look like worms for the most part. So what people did was a deworming, and so they took these specific herbs once to twice a year to make sure that they got them all out of their system. Why? Because they understood that it can affect everything from the vision to the nervous system, the immune system, if you were to have a parasite. Meaning, like, if you were to literally have a pathogen, aka parasite, that's living off of you. That is what a definition of a parasite essentially is. It's taking all the nutrients from you. It's living off of you. You want to get those things out of your body in order to get that energy and vitality back. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to link up the lab test. You can choose to do that, or you can also just begin a parasite protocol. Let me tell you exactly what's in our parasite protocol. So if you want, of course, you can just go to the link at stephencabral.com/928, and you can sign up for the parasite cleanse protocol. Or if you're working with a functional medicine doctor, you can make sure that it has the right products that are going to be able to eliminate a parasite effectively, because not everyone's doing it effectively. What's the most effective thing that you need to do that almost no one is doing right now in parasite-based protocol? And I learned this myself. I didn't make this up, okay? Really, really important to understand is that where I'm coming from in my practice, nobody has to be the winner, right? Nobody, like as a doctor, you don't want to be the winner. The people you care for in your practice are the winners. That's all that matters. Like, you need them to win. If someone gets rid of a parasite, great. It was the person that did the protocol, that stuck with it, that was willing to do it. That's the winner. They did it, not me. I'm simply the messenger that gives it to people. So like when people say, oh, are you using this person's protocol, that person's protocol? Honestly, What matters is the results. We need to start taking the ego out of medicine and health in general. It's like, oh, well, my school is better than your school. My health coach is better than your coach. My protocol is better than your protocol. My workout's better than your workout. No, it's just like we all need to relax in that department, I think, and understand that really what we're doing is we are using ancient-based healing secrets, techniques, and protocols, and then combining it with state-of-the-art, we'll call it functional medicine, orthomolecular medicine, to get people well. So let me tell you exactly what that is. I'll tell you what the ancient-based herbs are in a second that have been working for thousands of years. But the more state-of-the-art is something called a biofilm disruptor. We use it with our candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol, and it works phenomenally well. It is one of the things, people are starting to catch on to it now, but when we started doing this almost a decade ago, nobody was doing it. And it's why we're able to help people when they've never gotten help before with candida and digestive issues and bloating and IBS and gas and everything. I mean, we specialize in the digestive system. I can't tell you a person that will not get well with their digestive system by working with us in the protocols. And the reason is that I always say that there's only so many things that it can be. And if you do all things and you get a clean bill of health, no parasites, no H. pylori, no yeast overgrowth, no bacterial overgrowth, okay, then we're looking at a different dysfunction within the peristaltic movement of the intestines. But I will save that for an upcoming show. Let's stick with parasites today. All right. So the biofilm disruptor is this. What they are high-level enzymes, okay? They're enzymes. They're all natural enzymes that contain things like chitosanase, which literally removes the top layer of a lot of these things, such as yeast or the protein-based film over these parasites or yeast or bacteria, and they use it as basically a protective coating. So let me explain that a little bit better. Think of you want to basically, let's call it, get at the walnut inside of the shell, right? Well, in order to do that, if you wanted to, let's say, dissolve the walnut, right, you'd have to access it first. And that's the problem with a lot of these candida protocols and a lot of these pathogen-based protocols, whether it's for parasites or bacterial overgrowth like SIBO, is they don't access it fully. So what you need to do is actually remove the shell. And that's what a biofilm is. This is more cutting edge. Again, of course, you'll start to hear about it more and more over the coming years. But the biofilm has to be removed. This is basically a protective shell. It's a coating over these pathogens that they've helped to create in order to protect themselves. So what do we use? Well, we use high-level proteolytic enzymes. We use protein-digesting enzymes. We use fat-digesting enzymes. We use things to remove that biofilm, naturally, safely, of course. But we're doing that so that, and the product we're using is called Florafilm. And then right after that, what we want to do is a product called ParaPro Support. Okay, what's in ParaPro Support? This is where the ancient-based medicine really shines. Because we've known now, meaning like if you're doing a parasite protocol and it does not include these products, there's an issue. All right, sweet wormwood has to be in that protocol. All right, sweet wormwood, check that out. The second most important, black walnut hulls. Not black walnuts, the black walnut hull. Really, really important. A few other things that work really well. Olive leaf extract. Okay, we've added that. Okay, the next product I recommend is called artemisinin. And artemisinin, I believe it actually won a Nobel Prize in Medicine for its research back about 3 years ago. I will look up that research for you, and I'll try to link that up today at stephencabral.com/928 in those show notes. Really great as well. And then berberine. Berberine is another amazing product for bacterial overgrowth. Can even be used for H. pylori and parasites. Great, great product. Make sure it has a sweet wormwood. Make sure it has those black walnut hulls, all right, if you're working with a practitioner or you're looking at a product yourself. So that's part one, the biofilm disruptors with that herbal-based product. And then typically what you want to do is you want to switch right around the 21-day mark or so, okay? At least you want two different products, and here's why. That parasites, candida, bacteria, the reason why we do 3 different months, 3 different changes in the candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol is because we found it to be most successful. Remember, in a clinical-based practice, you have the benefit of not just kind of getting out there to people, they come back to you, meaning like they're doing follow-up appointments. So you have to make sure they get well because you're responsible for their health. So when people come to see us anywhere in the world, we're doing a Skype consultation, whatever it might be, they're doing a lab, anything, we're responsible. We consider ourselves responsible for getting them well or helping them lose the weight, transform their body, or age to a much stronger and better degree, right? That's our job. We take our job very, very serious. Well, one of the things that we've found to work really well with parasite-based protocols, and again, this is based on the ancient research as well, not me making it up, is that parasites seem to have a life cycle as you do kill them for about 21 days. And what happens is then that their eggs have that same amount of time to basically hatch and come to life. So you do want to do a parasite protocol for approximately 6 weeks, okay? 6 weeks is the gold standard. You can certainly do it for 12 weeks, okay? Some people do choose to do the parasite protocol 2 to 3 times. We've had people do that because if you're seeing parasites still continue to come out, well, then I would absolutely continue on with it. No doubt about it. That's not a set in stone that it has to only be 6 weeks. But what we provide is a 6-week protocol because that's what we seem to be highly effective. And let me give you the last part to it, then I'll tell you about how to progress from there. That was the ParaPro Support, the last product we use, and you can change this as well. But this product is called Biocidin. Great product, okay? Works on bacteria, works on yeast. It's been used with children with autism. It's a great product. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to keep touting all of its benefits. But it's a little different, all right? It's formed, it's created, it's manufactured in a different way. This is a liquid tincture, okay? It's very strong. It contains garlic, grapeseed. It contains some mushroom blends, echinacea for the immune system, and the black walnut, which is really important that's in there. It contains tea tree oil. It contains a little bit of lavender oil, so some essential oils, and oregano oil. Great product. Huge product. Big fan of it. We use this in our children's candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol as well because it's easy for kids to take and it's also easy to dose, meaning that you can just do 1 drop at a time and work your way up into 600 servings, so you're not going to run out of this product as well. Amazing product. Big fan of the company as well. Doing great things. They really are. And so, like I said, I'm always happy to give out shout-outs to these great companies, and that one's called Biobotanical Research. So our exact protocol is Biofilm Disruptor, ParaPro Support, and then use the Biocidin as basically a cleaning house, as a switch. Great protocol. You can also take specific foods that help to kill parasites. Those come along with the Parasite Cleanse protocol. Some of those would be raw pumpkin seeds. Could be sprouted. That's okay. And then also whole cloves of garlic as well. You can just crush that and swallow it right before bed. Those are very, very helpful as well. But again, you do the parasite protocol first before you do the candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol because you're not going to be doing the garlic on the candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol. All right, just one thing to mention there. So now you did your testing, you did the parasite protocol. There aren't a lot of lab tests that I say you need to spend the money to retest, okay? I don't always say that to people because what I like to say is, listen, I understood you made the investment for the lab test. I understand you made the investment for the nutritional supplements and going through the protocol. And of course, you're going to hopefully maintain your great health and all of those things. Amazing. So I don't always ask people to do the retest for labs because they're feeling better and good. They've moved on. But here's the thing. With parasites, you have to make sure they're gone, right? H. pylori parasites, you have to make sure they're gone. Even if you didn't run another test for yeast and bacteria, because your symptoms will be totally different after going through the protocol for the candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol. But with parasites, since they're not going to cause just the digestive issues, they can cause anything else, right? Is that this one's a big one. This one needs to be retested. It really does. And always use the test that you took the first time, all right? So if you go with your PCP, run the same test. If you go with the lab that we recommend, go with that same lab again. You just want the clean bill of health. You need to make sure that those parasites are gone. If not, you need to go back through the protocol again, okay? And sometimes even stronger. We have stronger products as well, but this is usually all people need. So what can I say about that? Well, that you do have the option. I always want you to know that you have the option. If you find a parasite, you can take the lab results to your PCP, and they will give you an antibiotic or an antiparasitic if you choose to take a pharmaceutical-based drug. I would still use the fluorofilm with it, the biofilm disruptor, to make sure you can access it. But that's always your prerogative, right? I'm not here to tell you what you have to do. I'm here to give you those options so that you can make the best informed decision for yourself. Okay, once you get that clean bill of health, there's one more part that you need to do. You need to make sure you now clean up the aftermath of the parasite. Think of Lyme almost as a parasite as well. Lyme and the bacteria and the spirochetes and all the different bacteria that comes along with it can affect the mitochondria, it can affect the immune system, and that's why so many people are continuing to treat Lyme. When the Lyme is completely gone, their immune system can still show titers to it. It can still show that it's activated to the former Lyme that it went after from a prolonged standpoint, but that doesn't mean the Lyme's there anymore. What they're dealing with is the aftermath of a specific pathogen that disrupts the immune system and changes the nervous system that can affect the mitochondria. Your job now, after you've gotten rid of the Lyme or the parasites or whatever it might be, is now to heal the body and whatever those symptoms are, right? So it may be your overall digestion. It might be your immune system. It might be cleaning up viruses. It could be anything. But now your job is to go and go after those because the parasite's gone. So now you can do the deeper level of healing. That's why when I talk about in all of my gut-based protocols, it goes most egregious first. Get rid of that. You get rid of the parasites. You get rid of the H. pylori. Then you go over you get rid of the bacteria and the yeast at the same time. And then you seal up the gut wall and repopulate. That is exactly how to do it. Parasite and H. pylori, yeast and bacterial overgrowth, because you can do those at the same time. And then sealing up the gut wall, right? That is what you need to do. And then afterwards, you're going to do what? You're going to strengthen your digestion so that you make sure that that immune system will automatically get bolstered the better of your digestion, that you seal up your gut wall, of course, but also that you strengthen the digestion so that you're producing enough stomach acid. Most people are afraid of stomach acid, but you need stomach acid, not acid reflux, right? Not acid reflux, not GERD, not any of those things. But what you need is the right amount of stomach acid and heat in the stomach and digestive enzymes to be able to kill any parasites that may enter through your food or through your mouth or another way in order for you to kill those so you do not get them back in the intestines where they can then set up shop, right? Set up hosts. And so one of the best ways to do that is check out my episode 782 on that. It tells you when to use digestive bitters or enzymes or betaine HCl. I talk about on my trips overseas to India and China, how I was taking very strong betaine or bitters or anything like that to strengthen my digestion so that I wouldn't get a parasite. And I actually tested every time that I came back and I was free and clear of parasites. So it's like the one thing in my life that I haven't gotten. So I'm very grateful for that. Very, very happy about that. But again, I've done parasite cleanses in the past before I ever started to do testing because I thought it might have it. So maybe I did have one and I just got it anyways. But either way, I've always had a clean bill of health for that. So I'm very, very happy and thankful. So a couple episodes that I want you to check out is the 7 signs you may have a parasite. I go much deeper into that, and also my work in India talking about that. That's on episode 262. I'll link it up today. How to strengthen your digestion. That is episode 782. I recommend checking that out no matter what you're dealing with because you need to improve your digestion in order to get a nice, healthy, robust body and immune system because remember, you are literally not what you eat, but what you absorb. So that's important. And then the last episode is 887, the 4 cleanses to do yearly with the Parasite Cleanse Protocol being one of the traditional ones to do as well. Hopefully today's episode was helpful. If it was, please do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could serve. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.